Despite the incredible quality of the majority of the driving simulators on the market at this point in time, there's a meteor impact of a hole when it comes to online racing. And that is, aside from iRacing, no other simulator has hosted ranked multiplayer. Now, if you've ever had the joy of playing tennis against a toddler, you'll see why this is a problem. Games or sports that have a high skill curve and require a moderate amount of skill to play at a basic level are simply not enjoyable when played against people that are of a very different skill level to yourself, or people that can't even grasp the basics of the activity. And let me tell you, 10 minutes of tennis with a toddler is going to make you want to smash your head into a concrete wall faster and more often than Pastor Maldonado crashing his race car. And that is why I think the lack of dedicated or at least ranked online multiplayer is the reason that the majority of servers are less populated than the Namibian desert. And also explains why people that do play on public servers have a strangely bruised and bloodied forehead. The question is though, given that this isn't that much of a secret, with even games like Mario Kart 8 having a basic ranking system, why don't more driving simulators do it? Well, I'm going to put my hat of wild speculation on and put it down to a couple of things. The first and most obvious is that driving sim developers are sadistic and want to punish people that like driving games. The second and probably most likely reason is that driving sim developers aren't game developers in the traditional sense. Features like dedicated servers, ranking and safety rating I believe are perceived as more game mechanics than core simulator mechanics, with a lot of the driving sim developers taking the position that it's up to people to host leagues and do custom events if they want quality racing. And in fairness, if you have the time or understand the sim racing community, you can get good quality racing by using leagues and joining league services provided by other people. The third and potentially likely reason is that some developers probably see it that doing a hosted and ranked system would represent a significant risk in that you have to have a maintained service that you're also going to have to work out how to monetize. Which again, considering the size of a lot of these developers and their limited resources, you can see could be a valid concern. And lastly, only 3 people play driving simulators. Unlike games like Rocket League, Counter-Strike Go or Mario Kart 8, there's simply not that many people to distribute based on rank. With that said, I think we can address the above concerns, have something that's not expensive to implement and drastically improves the quality of online racing for the end user without forcing them to have to go to a private league or have an infinite amount of time to dedicate to sim racing. And the solution, like many solutions, is pretty much already there, it just has to be implemented properly. I'd invite all sim racing developers to take a look at minnorating.com. Granted, it's only for Assetto Corsa, and Kunos did have to implement some features into the game to allow Minnow Rating to work. For those of you that don't know, Minnow Rating is basically a standalone app that operates fairly similar to iRacing's iRating and ranking system, though not identical. Now, I've done a video on Minnow Rating before, so I won't talk about it that much. Unfortunately, where Minnow Rating falls down is that it's not a default implemented feature in Assetto Corsa or potentially other driving simulators, and for it to really work it would have to be implemented by default on every single server, be that a public server or servers hosted by the game's developer. Now, when I say every server, no, I'm not a Nazi, I don't mean every single server. Obviously some people want to run custom servers or just mess around. What I do mean though is that it has to be very clearly listed on the server browser, in that you'd have competitive ranked servers and you'd have casual servers, clearly labelled by icons and very easy to filter on or off depending on what type of racing you want to do. Ultimately, even though it doesn't divide users up by skill, which in some ways might be a positive thing given the limited number of sim racers out there, what it does do is drastically reduce the issues of having really low skilled drivers that can't keep the car on the track to a basic level and tend to cause a lot of the crashing and unpleasant racing. What happens to the naughty boys and the people that don't drive very well? Well, the servers simply have them as a ghosted car that then becomes unghosted once they complete a prerequisite number of laps and show that they can drive safely. And of course they would always be free to drive on the non-competitive casual servers, causing havoc wherever they please. And as the ultimate carrot, you could always have the developer hosting servers that only allow top rated drivers to race on them, with them representing the highest skill category that everyone wants to be in because it's where the best racing is going to be. Those servers could also then be associated with competitions, events, or just be more covered by people that like to stream and commentate on races. One thing's for sure, if developers don't implement ranking or safety rating systems by default into their simulators, we might get amazing physics, amazing tyre models, fantastic sounds and graphics that are absolutely mind-blowing, but the racing's always going to be a little bit shit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember, if you did, to click the subscribe button, like it, and check out the links in the video description. We didn't have any sim racing news this week because nothing happened last week. Hopefully next week things will be a bit more exciting, what with Assetto Corsa having its Dream Pack 2 released and some updates to other simulators on the horizon. So I'll see you in those videos. Goodbye.